I told you that one of the most quote-unquote responsible decisions a manager can make is actually the first step toward killing their company? Yeah, it sounds completely backward, I know, but this idea comes from the legendary W. Edwards Deming, and honestly, it's a lesson that could literally save your business. Okay, so it all starts with something that doesn't just feel logical, it feels downright responsible. We've got to cut costs. But hidden inside that very smart-sounding move is a trap that can bring an entire company to its knees. And this is the core of it. When times get tough, the gut instinct, the reflexive action, is to start slashing the budget. It just sounds like the right thing to do. But Deming, he saw right through that, and he gave it a much, much darker name, the death spiral. So, how does this spiral even get started? Well, it's not some big, single, catastrophic event. Nope. Instead, it's a series of little, seemingly sensible decisions that just fall one after the other, kind of like dominoes. I mean, think about it. We've all been in this situation, right? Revenue isn't hitting the targets. So what's the immediate, almost automatic answer from leadership? We need to tighten our belts. We have to cut costs now. And this is where that first domino tips over. You start small, you cut equipment spending, maybe delay some upgrades. Then, to save a bit more, you cut training and development. When that's not enough, well, you have to start cutting people. And with fewer resources, less skilled staff, what's the next thing to go? It's always quality. And when the quality of your product or your service drops, that final, most devastating domino falls. You lose your customers. So those are the dominoes. But now let's zoom in a little bit on the engine that's actually driving this whole destructive cycle. What's really happening inside the spiral that makes it so ridiculously hard to escape? This right here is Deming's big insight. The death spiral is this vicious, self-feeding loop. The very act of cutting costs ends up wrecking the quality of your work. That drop in quality, of course, leads to lower revenue, which then puts even more pressure on you to make even deeper cuts, and the spiral just gets tighter and faster and more dangerous. And here is the really dangerous illusion, It's the classic trap of short-term thinking. On paper, for this quarter, the cost cuts look great. Hey, profits might even go up a little bit. But you fast forward 5 years, and the brutal truth becomes obvious. You've inflicted this deep, gaping wound to the very core of the company. Your quality is shot, your team's morale has completely collapsed, and your best customers, they're long gone. So this brings us to a really crucial question. If this cycle is so obviously toxic, why do so many smart, experienced managers fall right into the trap? Well, the answer lies in the seductive simplicity of paperwork. Now, really, just think about that for a second. Why does this exact pattern play out in company after company after company, maybe even in your own? It's because of this simple, very, very human truth. It is always easier to change a number on a spreadsheet than it is to do the hard, messy work of actually fixing a broken process. As the source material puts it so perfectly, it's just way easier to sharpen a pencil than it is to repair a complex system. And so what it all boils down to is this. Managing by the numbers, it looks like responsible leadership in the moment. But over the long haul, you're not really improving anything. You're just swapping the actual, real work of making things better for the easy illusion of control you get from shuffling paper. Okay, so that's the theory. But let's make this super practical. How can you spot this destructive pattern in your own organization? We're going to do a quick little 3-decision audit. All right, here's a simple but really powerful experiment I want you to try this week. Go back and find the last 3 significant cost-cutting decisions that your team or your company made, just 3. And for each and every one of those decisions, you need to ask one fundamental question. What did we save in cold, hard cash in the short term versus what did we potentially lose in quality, in morale, or in customer trust over the long term? You can just map it out just like this. For each decision, write down the short-term financial gain. That's the easy part, right? That's a number. But then, in that next column, you have to force yourself to articulate the potential long-term loss. Now, that second column is way harder to fill out, but that's where the real truth is hiding. And here's the final, and I mean this, the absolute most important instruction for this whole exercise. You have to do it honestly, and that means without getting defensive. The goal here isn't to point fingers or place blame. The goal is to see clearly whether your decisions are actually strengthening your company or if you're unknowingly locking it into a death spiral.